right, topic number two. Speaking of ascending teams, the Saints certainly look like one right now, even with some of the age on their roster. 91 points through 2 weeks. That is the fourth highest total through 2 weeks in NFL history. And they've got a big game this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, of course, coming off of a loss on Monday night to the Falcons. Interesting spot for both teams. The dome should be rocking for this one. And it's going to be interesting seeing the Saints offense going up against Vic Fangio and that Philly defense that is licking its wounds a little bit coming out of the loss at home to the Falcons and giving up that game-winning drive at the very end. And, I think the challenge the Saints provide for anyone now is how they've really leveraged their speed. And that really tells the story of where they are offensively. This offseason, Dennis Allen sought to simplify what the Saints were doing on offense. And this really relates to having a system in place for 20 years that really worked for them. Between Sean Payton and Drew Brees, over a decade and a half, the Saints were adding and adding and adding without subtracting anything from the offense. So the offense only got more and more and more complicated, which benefited Peyton and Breeze. And then that carried over to Pete Carmichael becoming the offensive coordinator when Sean Payton left after the 2021 season. So where did that leave the Saints the last couple of years when Peyton was gone and when Breeze was gone? It left them in a spot where the point of entry for young players was tough, where older players weren't playing as fast. And so what Dennis Allen wanted to do this offseason was untangle the offense. So how do you do that? Well, one way you can do it is go and buy into what's become the most popular offensive scheme in pro football, and that's the McVay-Shanahan scheme, and go and get one of the assistant coaches who can run that scheme because that scheme really is built on what they call the illusion of complexity, where they formation and a motion and they make five different things look like the same thing, which allows for players to play fast, but also presents a lot for a defense to deal with. And in plugging that in, they've been able to get a faster game from their quarterback. I talked to Derek Carr about it a few days ago. He said to me, I'm not a 4-2 guy, but we got a few of those. It's got me playing fast, and it's got those guys playing even faster, both mentally and physically. Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave. There's a lot of speed and there's a lot of talent in that offense. And now they've been sort of able to unlock all of that speed by simplifying the offense and by getting guys out there not thinking, but just playing fast. And so it's going to be interesting now to see what happens with an Eagles defense that isn't based on attacking, but is based on disguising things to the opponent. So how will the newfangled Saints offense match up against that Eagles defense? It's going to be really interesting to see how that matchup plays out and whether or not the Saints can keep up the breakneck pace that they've set over the first 2 weeks. Again, over 45 points per game.